Have you ever felt a sense of déjà vu? A feeling that we've been here before? Not in our own lives, but in the grand, sweeping story of humanity. There's a strange echo in the air today. A faint but persistent hum of uncertainty that feels hauntingly familiar. It's a feeling that historians know well. A disquiet that settled over the world in the years leading up to its greatest conflicts. Today, we're going to explore that echo. We'll look at the parallels between our current world and the eras that preceded global upheaval, not to predict a future of doom, but to understand the present and our power to shape what comes next. Let's turn back the clock. Imagine the world in the early 20th century, or in the 1930s. These were times of incredible change and deep-seated anxiety. The Industrial Revolution had reshaped societies, pulling millions from farms into crowded, bustling cities. New technologies were connecting the world in ways never before imagined, yet they also created new pressures and new forms of competition. Economies were volatile, swinging from dizzying heights to devastating lows, leaving fortunes and families shattered in their wake. In the halls of power, charismatic leaders rose, their powerful speeches amplified by radio and newsreels, promising simple solutions to complex problems, often by pointing to an other, a nation, an ethnicity, a belief system, as the source of all troubles. Does any of this sound familiar? The parallels are not exact, of course. History doesn't repeat, but as Mark Twain is often quoted as saying, it does rhyme. Look around us. We are living through another period of profound transformation. The digital revolution has rewired our economies, our social lives, and even our brains. Globalization has connected us more deeply than ever, creating a single intricate web of trade, finance, and information. But this interconnectedness has a shadow side. An economic shock in one corner of the globe can send ripples across the entire system. A virus can circle the planet in a matter of weeks. The very technologies that bring us together can also be used to drive us apart, creating echo chambers and amplifying polarization. One of the most striking parallels is the surge in economic nationalism and protectionism. Before both World War I and World War II, nations began to turn inward. They raised tariffs, seeing international trade not as a system of mutual benefit, but as a zero-sum game of winners and losers. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act in the United States in 1930, for example, is widely seen as deepening the Great Depression and fueling international hostility. Today, we hear similar rhetoric. Phrases like trade wars, decoupling, and putting our nation first dominate headlines. Major economic powers are clashing over trade imbalances and technological supremacy, leading to a tit-for-tat escalation of tariffs and sanctions that create uncertainty for businesses and consumers worldwide. This retreat from global cooperation is a dangerous sign, weakening the very institutions that were built after the last great conflict to prevent another one. Then there's the political landscape. The years before the world wars were characterized by the rise of aggressive, expansionist ideologies. Nations began to rearm at an alarming pace, driven by a belief in military strength as the ultimate arbiter of disputes. Alliances shifted, old orders crumbled, and a new, more dangerous multipolar world emerged where several powerful states vied for dominance. Today, we see a similar dynamic. Global power is shifting. New powers are rising and challenging the old, established order. Military spending is on the rise globally, reaching record highs. Long-standing arms control treaties are fraying or being abandoned altogether. Regional conflicts simmer with the potential to draw in larger powers, creating flashpoints from Eastern Europe to the South China Sea. This complex web of competing interests and fragile alliances creates a volatile environment where a single miscalculation could have cascading, catastrophic consequences. And what about society itself? The pre-war eras were marked by a sense of social dislocation and a search for identity. Rapid industrialization and urbanization left many people feeling adrift, disconnected from traditional communities and values. This created fertile ground for new, radical ideologies that promised a sense of belonging and purpose, often by scapegoating minorities and immigrants. Populist leaders channeled this public anxiety, using powerful new media like radio to bypass traditional gatekeepers and speak directly to the masses. They built powerful narratives of national grievance and renewal, painting a picture of a glorious past that needed to be restored and an external enemy that needed to be defeated. Today, we see this pattern repeating in a digital guise. The internet and social media have become the new radio, allowing populist narratives to spread like wildfire. Many people feel left behind by globalization and automation, their economic anxieties fueling a sense of cultural and political disenfranchisement. This discontent is expertly harnessed by political actors who offer simple narratives of blame. Immigrants, global elites, and foreign nations are often cast as villains in a story designed to stoke division and rally a base. The algorithms that power our social media feeds often reinforce these divisions, creating filter bubbles where we are only exposed to information that confirms our existing biases, making dialogue and compromise increasingly difficult. The result is a deeply polarized public square, where societies are fracturing from within. Let's also consider the role of technology. New military technologies in the early 20th century, like the machine gun, the tank, and poison gas, dramatically changed the nature of warfare, making it more destructive than ever before. But no one truly understood the full horror until the battles began. Today, we stand on the precipice of another technological lope in warfare. We're talking about autonomous weapons, cyber warfare that can cripple entire infrastructures, and artificial intelligence integrated into military command and control. These technologies are developing at a breathtaking pace, far faster than our ability to develop ethical guidelines or international laws to govern them. The risk of unintended escalation is immense. A cyber attack could be misinterpreted as a physical act of war. An AI-driven system could make a decision in milliseconds that a human would never make, with irreversible consequences. We are creating tools of immense power with little understanding of their ultimate impact. So, here we are, standing at a crossroads, surrounded by these unsettling echoes of the past. Economic instability, rising nationalism, shifting global power, social polarization, and disruptive new technologies. The ingredients are all there. It's a sobering picture, and it's easy to feel a sense of fatalism, as if we are all just actors in a play whose tragic ending has already been written. But that is precisely the wrong conclusion to draw. The purpose of studying history is not to be imprisoned by it, but to be liberated by it. By understanding the patterns, by recognizing the warning signs, we gain the power to choose a different path. The people living in 1913 or 1938 did not know what was coming. They were living their lives, caught up in the currents of their time, largely unaware of the cliff edge they were approaching. We have an advantage they did not. We have their history. We have the memory of what happened next. We know the cost of unchecked nationalism, of failed diplomacy, of dehumanizing the other. We know that the path of confrontation leads to ruin. This knowledge is our greatest strength. It is a gift from the past, a warning light flashing in the present. The future is not a destination we arrive at. It's a reality we create with every choice we make. We can choose to build bridges instead of walls. We can choose to reject the simple, hateful narratives and engage in the difficult work of understanding and compromise. We can demand that our leaders pursue diplomacy and cooperation, strengthening the international institutions that, for all their flaws, have helped maintain a fragile peace for decades. We can choose to use our technology to connect and enlighten, not to divide and deceive. These choices are not easy. They require courage, empathy, and a commitment to our shared humanity. The challenges we face are immense, from climate change to economic inequality to geopolitical instability. No single nation can solve these problems alone. They demand a level of global cooperation that seems, at this moment, to be in short supply. But despair is a luxury we cannot afford. The future isn't written in the stars. It's written in our actions. The great currents of history are powerful, but they are made up of countless individual choices. Your choice, my choice, our choices. The question is not whether history is repeating itself. The question is whether we have learned enough from history to write a different, better ending to this chapter of the human story. The clock is ticking, and the choice is ours. Thanks for watching. If this video made you think, please consider subscribing and joining the conversation below.